Hello, everyone. Let's get right into it. Last week, we all heard the big news. A Fallout TV series is coming from the makers of Westworld. That's big news, and with it comes even bigger expectations. The Fallout fan community has been buzzing with ideas, speculation, and flat-out demands as to what they expect. Most of this speculation revolves around where and when fans think the series will take place, or what games they might choose to adapt. As a longtime Fallout fan and someone who's been following creative and entertainment endeavors long enough to have a clue as to how these things tend to work, I think there are two likely scenarios for what we see in the TV series. Before I get into those, let's talk about what I think is decidedly unlikely. Not impossible, but unlikely. I don't think they're going to just adapt and retell the story of one of the games. The production team they have heading this up is exceptionally talented. Some of the most sought-after names in television. They have the ability to take on any project they want. I just don't see them agreeing to simply retell the story of a video game, no matter how well loved it may be. So that leaves us with essentially two scenarios. The first is that the TV series tells an entirely new story, with entirely or at least mostly new characters in an entirely new setting. This would give the storytellers plenty of space to tell an epic story that's in line with what we've come to expect from Fallout games, while also not stepping all over the existing lore. If this happens, I think the most likely location is New York. We know from bits and pieces of information that have come out over the years that Bethesda has plans or at least well-thought-out ideas for Fallout games set in New York. It's an iconic American city, one that fans routinely wonder about, and would make a great setting for a Fallout game. But that game hasn't ever happened. This could be the result of technical limitations. We all know how badly Fallout 4 ran in urban Boston, so can you imagine a game that was entirely in an urban setting? Maybe there are other reasons it was put on the back burner too. Regardless, that game wasn't ever made. Enter Kilter Films and this new TV series. While it might be difficult for a game to showcase the vastness of New York City, it wouldn't be hard for a TV show to do it, because we've never had any characters in games who have come from or even really knew anything about New York. It's basically a clean slate. It's probably the perfect setting for a new story arc spanning multiple seasons. But I don't think that's the most likely option. I think the most likely option is that this will end up being an anthology series. On the surface, that doesn't sound nearly as ambitious as an entirely new story, but it might just be the perfect recipe for an appealing show, both to new viewers and even the most hardcore fans. An anthology would allow writers to tell stories from across the Fallout timeline and universe, without getting too invested in one particular story arc or playing too fast and loose with existing lore. I imagine something somewhere between Netflix's Love, Death, and Robots, a more irreverent sci-fi anthology, and Amazon's own Tales from the Loop, which is a more retro-futuristic, darker series that tells interconnected but still standalone stories. Most importantly, one of the biggest things people love about Fallout is the wide variety of small stories that we uncover as we explore the world. Many of those stories are told through holotapes, notes, and terminal entries, and they're rarely visualized in front of us. Those smaller stories are the hooks that sink into us and make us feel an emotional connection to the franchise. An anthology series would essentially embody that. They could tell existing stories like the Keller family transcripts from Fallout 3, or the story of Randall Clark from New Vegas, or maybe even my own favorite, the Sam Blackwell story from Fallout 76. Yes, you can click on that thing in the top right if you want to. While these stories already exist, they've never been visualized, so they'd be much more appealing to TV writers than adaptations of entire games. They don't all have to be serious, though. Some episodes could focus on lighter moments by bringing funny holotapes to life, or by dealing with some of the more eccentric characters in the Fallout universe. Most importantly, they could tell entirely new stories along the same lines. The Fallout universe is perfect for this. There are nearly endless possibilities. To this end, I can see so many ways that an anthology series works, that it's hard for me to imagine it going any other way. If there were any reason it would be unlikely, it would be that it doesn't involve that epic story arc. I can see why that would be desirable, but it's also very much an all your eggs in one basket kind of thing. An anthology allows for so much flexibility, so much variety, and I think it's the only way to incorporate the gravity and humor of the Fallout world in one series. Ultimately, I'm looking forward to the TV series regardless of what it is. How about you? What are you expecting to see? What do you want to see? Let me know in the comments, and before you go, be sure to like and subscribe for more Fallout content. Until next time, I'm Fisty McRib.